Well, the reason why we started the project was it was the visitors and what they were saying about the museum, and also it was a little bit old. It had been around in that state for about 20 to 30 years. But the biggest issue the visitor had was enjoying themselves, was actually, you know, having a refreshing visit, and that involves going to the loo, so new toilets. It involves having somewhere to sit down, good lighting so you can read the information, and then having, you know, interesting exhibits. Now the exhibits themselves we had were fine, everybody loved them. They were sometimes a bit like a book on a wall, so there's a few too many words, but what the biggest problem was actually the visitor feeling they were drained by the time they got halfway around. It was a labyrinth, it was gloomy. So we're trying to get rid of all of that lot, react to what the visitors are telling us, and put back brand spanking news, lots more of them, lovely lit galleries, lots of seating, places to stop and pause, and actually concentrate on the objects, because that's what York's, you know, really famous for, are its collections. So the new museum hopefully will answer quite a lot of what the visitors have expressed as problems about the old museum. Well, we're about halfway through the project now. We've stripped out all the old. We're sort of making good, so we're filling in the ichthyosaur holes, and we're going to have a polyfiller party very soon to fill all the old screw holes in. But perhaps more interestingly, we've rediscovered the building as it was meant to be. You know, the squares, the rectangles, the views. The displays put in the last sort of 30, 40 years really have obscured that. They made it a bit of a labyrinth. So it's really exciting to get back to that original architectural vision for the building, but also to discover these little tiny things that really surprise you. And then we'll start the build process in late April, so we've got about 2 months of making good and clearing out the rubbish that you see around us to allow the shop fitters to come in and actually start to build the exhibitions, and they'll finish 4 weeks before we open, which allows me as a curator then to come and put the objects in and make it look pretty. Yeah, what we're doing is we're trying to establish 3 new permanent galleries in the building, converting our existing 300-seat lecture theatre into an audio-visual spectacular, and also our top floor, which includes our 42,000 volume library, we're really opening to the public for the first time. So we're creating a reading room, we're creating learning spaces. And then the permanent galleries, what we've tried to do is get rid of all of the sort of modern intrusions of the last 30, 40 years to get back to an original plan, allow us then to really show off the objects the best we can. And our collections are fantastic. We have around about half science, half archaeology. So the galleries, we'll have a third of the galleries being dedicated to natural sciences, themed around extinctions. So from the dinosaurs to dodos to sparrows in your garden to grey squirrels, then the Romans, and that takes you through to the sort of that 7th century. And that gallery is really aimed at about people, because we know an awful lot about who made up Roman York, that York was actually part of the empire. So it's looking at that sort of international trade and global economy that the Romans created, as well as what was happening locally. And then the third permanent gallery is the medieval gallery, and that really is taking a slightly different look at the medieval past. and also a slightly different gallery. It's more like an art gallery, so we're putting the objects on show as beautiful objects, as glorious things, but with images in them that would have meant something to a medieval person. So the medieval gallery will be purely objects and images and colour, which was what the medieval world was about, rather than object labels and graphic panels. So it's creating a gallery for everybody. So there's something for everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, what your level of intellect is, or how much you already know. And the start of all of that, and hopefully you start to the visit, is what we're calling the History of York Audio-Visual Spectacular, which is really a 10-minute film show with sound and light and moving images to bring the history of York all the way through, from the very beginning in prehistory. York was here before the Romans, all the way through to the sort of to the modern day, and letting people then go and explore York. So come and do that first, and come and go to, if you're interested in the Vikings, go and have a look at York. If you're interested in big churches, go and have a look at the Minster, and if you're interested in extinctions and Romans and a quieter pace of medieval things, then obviously come and have a look around the rest of the museum.